Hi everyone. Welcome. We're so excited. Just gonna let people enter in for a couple more seconds here. Okay. Well, hello. Welcome everybody. We're really excited to have Amy Serrano teaching our group class this week. And before we get started, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we will be having a Q&A inside of our Discord with Amy for a few minutes after our classes ended. So if you don't get a chance to ask some questions or maybe some things come to mind after the class is over, please hop over to our Discord and I'm going to leave the link here in the chat room. If you don't know what about our Discord yet, it's a place where we're gathering our students and teachers and guest artists to hang out, chat about violin, learn from each other. We're even going to be hosting some teacher office hours in there, so you can have some opportunities to pop in and talk to a teacher if you haven't had that yet. Thanks, everybody, and I'm going to pass it over to Amy to get started with class.
Thanks, Nicolette. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Serrano. I'm super excited to work with you all today and hopefully show you some very helpful tips for bowing straight on your violin. I'm assuming all of you are towards the beginning of your violin journey because, you're still figuring out like, how do we do this? It is definitely like a tricky concept for sure. So I'm really excited to kind of hopefully break that down for you a little more and answer questions, and would love to definitely hang out with you guys in Discord after to just dive into even more questions. So let's get started. Who has their violins with them? Let's see the violins, because this is a violin class and we're going to practice how to bow straight. So a little bit more introduction about myself really quickly. So my name is Amy Serrano. I live in San Diego, and you guys, I have literally been playing the violin for almost 30 years. What? Like I just, when I was in my like second decade of playing, I just stopped counting because I was like, dude, it's been like my whole life basically. But like now that I'm turning 32 or 33, wow, I'm 32 now. And I started when I was 3. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's now been almost 30 years. That's crazy. And it's so cool because like I definitely had a love-hate relationship with learning how to play the violin when I was growing up, and then kind of came back to it off and on throughout my adult years. But now I love playing the violin the most that I ever have, and it's so much fun, and I've really found a way to make it how I've connected personally with music and what practice means for me. And it's so cool to know, like, I've been playing for 30 years, but I know I'm still at the very beginning of my journey. And there's so much to learn every day. And I'm finally admitting I'm like a total violin geek. Like, I'm a total violin nerd because learning and practicing is so much fun. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I perform a lot, I teach a lot. So, okay, so that's about me. Are you guys ready to get started though? Yay! Okay, and hi Omar. You guys, I have the chat open, so if you have questions or want to just say a quick hello, feel free to use the chat. Would love to. I'll be more aware of that than in the past Trala lessons. Okay, so this is the breakdown. Okay, so I think of bowing straight on my violin in like 2 parts. So let's just break it down in 2 parts. And you might watch other videos and hear information from other teachers in a different way. That's fine. Try out everything. This is just kind of how I teach my students and view it and think about it. And it just, most of the time, just makes it so easy and things click for them. Because it is kind of like, how do I know when I'm going straight? It's like, what? Like, from our angle, you guys all know, it doesn't look straight. So, all right. So the breakdown is 2 parts. So I think about what tell my students to think about what their right arm is doing. And then separately, we think about what our hand is doing, the platform of our hand. Do you guys see this? When I say hand, I'm not really talking about the bow hold. I'm not talking about the bow hold. The bow hold, like the fingers are always going to stay the same. When I talk about the hand, I talk about the platform of my hand. So I'm going to teach this to you in two parts, and then we'll put it together and practice that together. So the arm, so let's see here. Okay, so this is the thing. We want our hand to stay in one general position to the violin. Oh, let me like lower the screen and make sure you guys, tell me in the chat, like, I don't see what you're doing or I can't hear you. Just totally be transparent. Let me know. So with my hand, we want to keep our hand position with the violin. I just call it parallel. So can you guys do that with me real quick? Let's practice the hand first. So you can put the bow down. I know it's about bowing straight, but really it's just like the motion of like how to get straight. So I think of my hand as parallel to the violin. And now bring your hand down. Don't worry about specifics, but just look in your screen and keep your hand, the top of your hand parallel to the violin. So, and then also with your hand, do you guys see the fingerboard and bridge? So I just try to keep my hand in line with that. So this might be parallel over here, but my hand is not in line anymore. Do you guys see that? My hand is over here. It's still parallel, but it's not in line. So you want to keep your hand parallel with the violin and in that general line. So does that make sense, you guys? Let's just practice the parallel hand for 4 beats up and down, maybe for like 4 air bow strokes, and then don't worry, we'll grab the bow and do that as well. Okay, ready and set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check if your hand is parallel to the violin. Going up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Up, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so check, is your hand parallel down here like it is up here? Are you in line with your violin? And remember, we all have our screens, so use your screen. If you're in a situation where you don't have a screen, that's different, but we do have a screen we can use. So just check with yourself, am I in line with my violin, or am I kind of over here when I'm moving my hand up and down, or am I, really forward with my hand? So that's just the general, so that's rule number 1. Well, this is my, Amy Serrano's rule number 1. Do whatever you guys want, but this is what works for my students and I. So the flat top hand should be parallel and flat. So I'm gonna call this like the flat top, okay? The flat top hand. Cool. So now let's grab our bow and do that on the D string. And we'll get to the arm later and more angle in just a minute. But just think through what we just talked about, which is as you're bowing, watch for a flat top parallel hand to the violin. I'll do it once. Did you guys see that? Right here, I may or may not be a little parallel, but I'm not in line with the violin. If I'm here, I'm not in line with the violin. So it's a combination of keeping the flat top part of your hand parallel as you bow down. When you're down, check to make sure you still have a flat top hand. When you go all the way up, make sure your hand is a flat top. So let's do that together, and then I'll tell you something that tends to be tricky, and we'll work through that. So let's do like 8 big D string bow strokes, and just think about what your hand is doing and keeping that parallel to the violin, whether you're up here or all the way down here. Okay, I'm gonna set the metronome. Chat me, you guys, if it's too loud or whatever. So we're gonna do 4 beats down, 4 beats up, back and forth for like 8 bow strokes. You guys ready? We're on the D string together. Ready and set, go. I'm seeing a ton of straight bows already. So you guys are looking fantastic. Great job. Okay, so it gets tricky with looking like you have a straight bow at two specific points I notice with beginner players, and that's when the bow, our hands, the frog, is by the violin. A lot of times when we bow back up, beginners bow back up, they go like this. I don't know if you noticed that you've ever done this. You guys, sorry, I forgot to rosin my bow this morning, so the sound is a little bit wonky. See, you can be playing for 30 years, but you still forget to do things, and that's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna bow up. So what happened? Is my wrist parallel to the violin anymore? No, so it went in. Watch. If I just make my hand parallel, boom. It's like all of a sudden kind of straightened out, you know? And I don't think most violinists have a problem with this because that was like overarched. I think most of the time when violinists bow up and it's crooked, it's because you bring your arm up, but not they don't think about their hand and making the flat top part of their hand parallel. So then if you feel like you're starting to do this, just remember to make your hand parallel, you know, and of course, you know, I'm not talking about what the wrist is doing or the fingers, you know, that gets more complicated, but I'm just trying to keep this as basic as possible and approachable for you guys. Is when you're bowing up, if you don't bend your hand, if you don't make sure the flat top part of your hand is parallel, it's going to be like this. So that's what happens a lot of the time. Do you guys see that? Do you guys see what I'm talking about? Does that make sense? And then watch, when I bow down, students tend to, like, they're bowing down. It feels straight and down, right? It's like, yeah, that felt down. How the heck do I know if I'm straight, right? You're probably thinking. But if you look at your hand, it might be like parallel-ish, but it's not in line with the fingerboard and the bridge. So if your hand's over here, it's obviously not in line. You know, the line is from here down, just from here down to the floor. So if you want to look down at the floor and see what's that line from here straight down to the floor, keep your hand in that line. Keep your hand in that line, and that's going to guide you more. So when you bow down, one more time before we practice it together, it's going to go crooked if you don't keep your hand in line and your the flat top part of your hand parallel. So keep it parallel and bring it back to the line of this area. Just keep it in line with that. And then, you know, you might be like this, but your bow's going to be over here or over here if the hand isn't parallel. So this is the consistent part of the bowing. Consistent meaning this shouldn't really change at all. Keeping the hand parallel to the violin, both up, both down. So those are the two tricky spots I see students encounter all the time. So let's go back and practice bow strokes again. But now be thinking about, what is my hand doing when I'm all the way up? What is my hand doing when I'm towards the bottom? Okay, are you guys ready? Ooh, this time's getting a little bit tired. All right, bow down on the D string. Awesome, you guys look fantastic. And then look at your hand. Make sure, you know, it's somewhere towards the top and it's parallel to the hand. Awesome. Ready, and set, go. I think that was 8, but I wasn't counting. Awesome job, you guys, yeah, the bows are looking generally really great. I have it in gallery view. That looks really, really great. So that's the first part when I think of bowing straight. Remember how I mentioned when I break it down, I think of it in two parts. That's the first part, is what is my hand doing? And the most, in basic sense, the hand is staying parallel to the violin. Okay, so just quick question time before we move to the second part. Um, does anyone have any questions about just that basic concept? You can either chat it or maybe put your bow up in the air. If it's making sense, then we'll keep going. Sweet. Oh, loving the thumbs up. Thank you so much. Appreciate the engagement. All right, so let's go to the next part of how I view bowing straight, and that's all like what the heck the arm and elbow is doing. So this is the second part of bowing and bowing straight, and that guides our bow, right? The arm and the elbow. So when this is the part that changes. So like I said, our arm, our hands stay parallel, but the arm and elbow is changing depending on where the bow is at, right? And of course, at every single angle, it's gonna look different. So let's just look at 3 different points of when we're bowing. And I call it like our arm forms 3 different general shapes. So we wanna look for 3 different shapes that your arm and elbow are gonna form to get really nice straight bows. So the first shape our arm forms when we're at the top is, what shape is this elbow? Would you call it, I just call it a V. Do you guys see how it's kind of like a V in the most basic sense? Okay, do that with me, you guys. So get into playing position, put your bow on the D string, check for your hand and make sure it's parallel. That's looking fantastic, you guys. And then look at your elbow, make sure it looks like a V, because watch, if it's not a V, your bow will follow that. So make sure your hand is parallel and your arm is a V. We don't want chicken wings, so we don't want like our arm down. That's not good. We want our arm and elbow to be with our hand wherever we go. So mine's kind of like this. Our elbow supports our bowing. So, okay, so here is the V shape. Now let's pull our bow down just to the middle of the bow. Ready, go. I'm in the middle of my bow. My hand is parallel to the violin. I'm on the D string. Now what shape am I forming, you guys? 90 degrees. Do you guys see that? That's pretty cool, right? If I move my bow this way, I'm not 90 degrees. If I move my bow this way, I'm not 90 degrees. So when you're in the middle, you want to be generally forming a 90-degree shape. So let's go back to the top. Let's go back to the V shape, and then check your V shape in your screens, and then bow down to the middle with me, and make sure you look like 90 degrees. Ready, go. Nice, awesome. So of course there's, it's like the shoulder, or, what's this doing? What's the wrist doing? All these other little tiny details. Don't worry about that at all right now. Just focus on these simple things. Just get your body to look like a square or 90 degrees. Cool, and then when we're down towards the tip, I call it like a loosely straight arm. Of course, it's not totally straight, but I just say loosely straight because we're giving shapes to everything, guys, okay? So yeah, so watch. We're in the middle, 90 degree, and then I pull my bow down. My arm is becoming straight. But remember, it works because my hand stays like a flat top. Do you see that? So can everybody get down to the bottom like I am? Make your arm and elbow generally straight-ish. Make sure your hand is parallel to the violin. Now let's go back up to the middle of the bow. Ready, go. Are you forming a 90 degree? Awesome. And now let's go back all the way to the very top and make sure to form that V shape. And the hand is parallel to the violin, or else we're gonna see things like this. Okay, let's do that again. So go back to the middle of the bow. Awesome, everyone's looking fantastic. And now let's keep going. Pull your bow all the way to the tip. And remember, I had to say, like, you could be like this and you're like, I think I'm doing it right, but it's still a little crooked. That's because we need to keep in line. Remember, in line with this part of our violin, straight down. So if you go straight down, where's your hand at? You know what I'm saying? Awesome. Okay, so let's practice our open strings. Let's go on the D string. Actually, let's switch to the A string, right? Do you guys want to switch to the A string? Let's switch to the A string and practice bowing 8 bow strokes. And now you have two things to be thinking about: a flat parallel hand, and what is your arm and elbow doing? Are they helping you out? Are you going from elbow to square to straight to square to elbow? Or are you just kind of bowing wherever, you know? So at least give yourself something to, think about. Do elbow, square, straight. And of course, there's a lot of other things, like I said, that we really do, all the tiny little movement nuances, but we're not worrying about that. We're just keeping it simple. Okay, ready? So let's go to the A string. Let's bow on the A string. Let's do 8 bow strokes. 4 beats each, and I'm going to be looking in the screens for nice straight bows. Ready, and set, go. Nice! Awesome job. So I think that was 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whatever. Okay, so you guys, I'm so proud of you. I'm seeing a lot of straight bows in there. That's the general breakdown. And now what I wanted to do with you guys was do some exercises, string crossing, adding in the fingers, but just staying aware of these two ideas. Like, what is my hand doing? What is my elbow doing? And then kind of working through that. Is there any questions about what we talked about so far? Okay, so also, does anybody want to have the opportunity where they kind of bow straight in the screen, and then I give you some maybe suggestions, or be like, oh, I'm still noticing this, just some actual one-on-one lesson time. Is anyone interested in that? Ooh, I see someone playing position. All right, go for it. Cola, are you wanting to show us? Oh, sorry, I thought you wanted to show us. What? Go for it if you want. Okay, so perfect. So I'm seeing, so if you want, get into playing position.
Am I unmuting myself? All right,
I
no.
hear you.
Okay.
Hi, thank you so
Okay.
much. Okay,
All
so get
right.
into playing position like we talked about. And
Okay.
that looks perfect. So you have that nice flat hand. I would say, can you get your hand even a little bit more parallel to the violin? So bring the hand up just a little bit, like get your hand a
Like
little bit
that?
more parallel. Oh yeah,
Oh, my hand?
yeah, that looks good. That looks nice and
Okay.
straight.
Okay. Am I going?
Yeah, go for it. Awesome! That looks fantastic. Great job in general. You're staying in the bridge and fingerboard, so that's half the battle. And in
Okay.
general, it is going
Mm-hmm.
straight. I have two thoughts that maybe you can first is like where you're putting the bow in general, which I didn't even mention. So this is my
Okay.
on me. But when we put our bow down, make sure we put it like over the two little F holes. This is for everybody. Make sure you're starting
Two F
like
holes.
in this area. I always say in the middle, but just slightly closer to the fingerboard. So, because if we start here and we're doing straight bows, it's going to stay there. But if we start just a little bit closer in the middle, just slightly closer to the fingerboard, then when we're bowing straight, it's going to stay in a sweeter range of our strings.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
do you want to try that?
Yeah, I'll try it. Whoops.
Awesome! Awesome. Fantastic job. Okay, so one last stop that I had. Remember when
Okay.
I talked about the tricky part when we're bowing? Your hand is like this. It's so close to being straight. So when your hand is by the
No.
violin, if you could just do this one simple thing, make
Okay.
your hand parallel to the violin or bring your wrist up. Maybe it's
Oh,
Yep, see
I understand what you're saying. Okay.
yeah, so when you're bowing,
Nope, still, I seen it.
no, that was amazing. That was so good. Okay, I'm pretty sure everyone just saw right now. You were like this the first time, and then the second time you showed us because you brought your wrist up, and you kept your hand
Yes.
flat. It stayed right where you wanted it to.
See, I didn't think to make my hand parallel like that.
And
Did I do it?
right now, be a little bit dramatic with it. Yeah, you're doing it, and be dramatic.
Be
Really
dramatic.
bring the wrist up. That was it! Fantastic! Congrats! You are bowing straight on the violin. That's huge. Good job!
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for letting us, showing us, and so we could kind of show everyone else what to fix and such. Is there anybody
Thank you.
else that would like to bow for us, and I can possibly give you some ideas?
Well, I mean,
And it's totally fine if not. I know being put on the spot is mortifying. Is there anybody else though before we move on? I'm just waiting for the bow movement because there's several faces I have to look at.
There goes. You can hear me?
I'll do
There
it.
goes. You can hear me?
Hi! Who's talking right now?
Oh dear. So, got myself, Jose?
I'm trying to look for your face.
Amy, I'm going to spotlight both of you guys together, okay? You see it now? If you go to speaker view.
Oh, speaker view. Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry, I have it on gallery because I really want to see all of your beautiful faces. Hi, I see you now. Thank you so much. Okay, cool. You want to bow one down bow and one up bow for us? Nice, great job. I really like how when you're on the lower string, you're supporting your bow really well with your hand and you're not having a really low elbow that's flat or falling. Okay, so really quickly to give you the best advice that I can, in the screen, you're like this right now. Are you able to move your violin and your body a little bit like this so that your violin is parallel to the screen? That looks better.
Okay.
You want to do that one more time with the violin just a little bit more like this? That looks amazing. It looks so good, so straight. Great job. Okay, so I think maybe just one thing we could tweak. Remember when I talked about the line, when you're in playing position, this part of your violin, and then follow it straight, just with your eyes real quick, follow it straight down to the ground. Where would that point hit if it went straight to the ground? Wherever that point is, I want you to keep your bow going there, because right now your bow hand is just a little bit going back, so it's not following the point. So can you bow one more time, but follow the point? So keep your hand, another way you can think of it is keeping your hand in front of you a little bit more. Try that out.
It went worse. I'm going to try again.
That's getting better. That's getting better. I'm seeing a difference. Try it too, where when you bow, think about what your shoulder is doing. And then when you're out here, is it possible for you to swing your hand, your whole arm into your body? When you bow down, swing your arm into your body.
Oh, okay, like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another way of thinking about it. Nice! Nice. Good job. Yeah, so those are really, really great points. So when you're bowing,
Mhm.
it could feel like the arm is away from us, or we can kind of bring it in just a little bit where we feel that the arm is inside of our body or like
Yeah.
towards our body, and that'll give you a good idea of what your bowing
Okay.
is doing. So thank you so much for showing
Thank you.
us.
Thank you.
Also,
Thank you.
by the way, loving your violin. It's so cool.
Thank you.
Okay, going back to gallery, is there anybody else that would like to kind of show us what they're doing and get any ideas or feedback?
I would like to play.
Hi, how are you?
Origin from Colombia, coffee country.
Wow, that's amazing. Hello, thank you so much for participating with this Trala lesson today. All right, so whenever you're ready, do you want to show us
You
your...
are? Okay. I have to play the G string. I think is the hardest. So I'm gonna try.
Okay. That's looking amazing. Honestly, that's looking so great already. All I noticed was maybe a little bit of slide on your string, like you were here, and then it kind of slid closer to the bridge. So maybe I would say kind of be aware of where your bow contact is hitting the string, and maybe watch it. Make sure you don't pull it to the bridge. Do you want to try that? Yeah, so we want we want the bow like right around here. We want to kind of avoid when we're bowing pulling it close to the bridge. So when you're bowing, try to keep it away from the bridge. Do you want to try that?
Okay. I'm gonna try.
That was amazing. Good work.
Thank you.
Fantastic job. And there are times where we do pull our bow by the bridge, but that's when it's on purpose because we want a specific cool sound. So, but in general, when we're bowing, we want to keep the bow right in the middle over these F holes, at least when we're starting out. So great job. Thank you so much for showing me. Great, 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 great job. Anyone else want a little bit of feedback, critique, or just anything like that? Look at Rachel said 3 for 3. That means, you guys are going to crush it if you just, go for it. So, okay, well, let's move on to some exercises really quickly if we have time for that. Because I know we're also going to do Discord. So just Rachel, let me know about the timing. But yeah, let's go on to some exercises and just keep working through the motions that I gave you. So now you guys mentally get the motions, right? You mentally understand where you want your hand to stay. You know the shapes you want to expect from your elbow and arm, right? V shape, square, straight arm. But that doesn't mean the muscles get it yet, right? So that's where the practicing comes in. So we want to sync up our mind and our muscles. So let's do that. So now it's more just like practicing that. And I always say, try not to just be a robot. What does a robot do? It's just repeating something over and over again. Try to stay intentional with every movement and make sure it's better than the time before. So just be very intentional about every movement and motion you're making and make sure it's like, yes, this is exactly what I want. Not like, oh, I want a bow going up, but yes, I want a flat wrist, So just be very intentional about everything you're doing with me right now. Okay, so let's go to crossing back and forth between the D and the A string together. So let's do like D string, we'll rock the bow, and then go to the A string, rock the bow, D string, rock the bow, A string. We'll keep doing that together. I'll have the metronome going, and then, we're kind of adding in a little bit of a challenge, right? Because we're going to be crossing. So now we have to also be aware of like what our arm level and elbow level is doing. So that'll be some good practice. Okay, you guys ready? Let's start that out. Let's do D string and then A string back and forth several times. Ready, and set, go. Cool. Great job, you guys. When your bow is coming up to the strings, are you bringing the wrist up, keeping your hand parallel, or are you just letting your hand do its own thing? Are you guys thinking about that? So make sure that you bring your wrist up, your parallel, and then keep your hand parallel so we don't end up with a slightly crooked bow at the top. Okay, let's do that again. Let's do the G and D string this time. Are you guys ready? And then we're also doing different strings. So, if a question does arise because it feels different or it feels tricky all of a sudden, this is the time, or save it for Discord. But, be thinking about good questions that might help you out in the future. So, okay, ready? Let's do the G string and the D string. So making sure my bow is over the F holes. I'm making sure my hand is forming a generally parallel hand, and I'm aware of my elbow. It's a V shape, but it's not down here. I need the support of my hand. So I'm going to take my elbow with me when I'm crossing strings. Okay? Ready, and set, go. Nice. So one thing I thought of is when we're on the G string, for some reason it always feels like just the bowing angle, everything kind of feels a little bit different, right? Do you guys feel like the G string just feels different? It is. It's a completely different angle. So one thing I want to encourage you is when you're bowing on the G string, this happens that I feel like the easiest on the G string, right? It's like this is all back. We want to bow back. That's what happens, but we don't want that, you guys. We don't want to be bowing back. So make sure you're not bowing back, which means you're pulling your arm back. Your shoulder would be swinging back. What you want to be looking for is following that point that we talked about. So the point, over, so that feels like a straight arm, and you can still see your hand in front of you. So I'm just kind of giving you different ways to think about it right now. So keeping your hand, in the parallel of your vision. If your hand comes like this when you're on the G string, then you can't see it, but I think a lot of string players, when they're learning, they bow kind of back. So then if you can't see your hand, then we already know it's going to be crooked, so you want to keep your hand in the frame of your visual. Do you guys kind of see what I'm talking about? Even right now, I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty straight. And then I looked and I was like, oh no, I need to be even more in front, even more straight with the G string. So let's do that again. And now be mindful of where your arm is taking your bow. Make sure you're not bowing back, but you're keeping the hand in front of your violin, in front of your face. Okay, ready? Let's try that again. G string and D string, and then use the screen, your little screen as well, to make sure you're bowing straight and you're happy with your straight bow stroke. Checking for bow placement, checking for what my hand is doing, parallel hand, checking my bow hold, checking my elbow, making sure it's V shape. Cool. Okay. Making sure I don't have chicken wings because my arm should be up supporting you guys, make sure your elbows are supporting your hand. So make sure they're not down. Make sure they're up just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. Cool. Okay. Ready, and set, go. D string. Make sure you're keeping the hand in front of you on the G string. Nice. Good job, you guys. Okay, so that's string crossing. And just before I mention anything with that, is there any specific questions that you feel like pop up when you're string crossing back and forth and in terms of bowing straight? Just let me know. Oh, did somebody move their bow in there? Make sure if you have a question, go like this, like super intensely so I can see, because I'm like trying to skim all the faces. Ooh, touching strings. Cola! You literally read my mind because I was going to talk about that, and you're so right. Okay, thanks, Omar. Enjoy that coffee. That's why I have my mug right here. Okay, so Cola, I hope I'm pronouncing your beautiful name right. So you're so right with touching strings. It's so common, right? We're like bowing, and then you have to work on the angles, right? I'll do like G and D because I feel like we can touch the strings easily. You know, we're like, it's just like, the bow angles is so crazy, right? So what helps is first getting like the right order of motions down when we bow. If we're bowing just open strings, there's 2 motions we're actually doing because we're not talking about the left hand. The first motion is we have to rock the bow silently, right? We're rocking the bow, but we shouldn't be making any sound. That's one motion when we play. The next motion is finally moving the bow, which we just call bowing. So watch, I'm gonna go from G to D, but talk through my motions. Okay, put my bow down, then I bow. I rock my bow silently, and then I bow. What? See you guys? Okay, hold on. So we bow, silent rock, and then bow. Silent rock up, bow. Silent rock down, bow. And I think, like, yeah, we might still touch strings when we're moving, but at least if you're starting off on the right bow angle, you're gonna have a better chance of staying on one string versus your bows, like you're still moving your bow as you're bowing. Then it's like you don't have your really strong angle at that point. So you want to make sure that you don't start moving the bow until your bow is still. So you guys want to try that with me real quick? I'll walk you through the motions. So put the bow down on the G string. We'll do the G and D string because that's always like very tricky, you know, moving back and forth between those 2 strings. So we're on the G string, bow down and still, and then let's bow. And now rock the string. Make sure there's no sound, and now let's move the bow. And then let's rock the bow. We shouldn't hear any sound. Now let's bow. Now let's rock the bow, and now let's bow. Silent rock, bow. Silent rock, bow. So, you know, even if you can start on the right string in a good angle, then likely you're not going to touch the strings as much. So that's one really good tip, is thinking about your motions and making sure they're in order, because what creates the sound? When I'm rocking, that doesn't really create any sound, right? If my fingers are down touching the board, that's not creating sound. What's like the one thing that creates the actual sound? Bowing, right? When we bow is literally when there's sound, not any of the other actions, like when we're just crossing strings or putting our fingers down. So that's why we need bowing to be the last action. So that's what I mean by order of actions or order of motions. Does that make sense, you guys? So when you're playing, always think about what are the motions and movements I'm doing, and I need to get them in the right order. Bowing should be the last. Honestly, everything else can happen at any order, but the one thing that needs to happen at the very end is the bowing, because that's what makes the sound. So that would really help cleaning up your bowing, not touching the other strings. Does that make sense? Was that helpful, Cola? You guys want to try that a couple times where you're being mindful of the order of movements? And we can practice that together. Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. Let's do that. Ready? Let's do that. Let's go from the G to the D string and practice that where you're thinking about the order of movements and also your bow angle and your hand and everything else, because that's violin playing is multitasking to its finest. Okay. All right. So ready and set, go. G string. Silent rock, bow. Silent rock, bow. Silent rock, bow. silent rock bow. Good. So that's one really good thing to think about when you really want clean bow strokes. So did you guys find that you were still touching other strings, or what were you guys finding? Or did you feel like you're bowing with clean bow strokes, clean sounds? I'm seeing some head nods, so that's fantastic. You're like, ish, ish. I know, right? It's just an hour of lesson is not gonna change too much, but right now you guys are learning the tips so you can practice on your own. That's where you're gonna see the growth. You guys know that, right? Like, you have to go home and practice this on your own every day. I say as many times a day, well, no, not as many times in a week. Like, even if it's just 5 minutes, just practice what we've been over, like, every day, and you're gonna see growth big time. So the next exercise I had was like playing the D major scale and bringing in fingers into bowing straight. So this only thing is I'm not sure where everyone's level is at, because oh, good, I'm glad that was helpful. So we can practice the D major scale if you guys are wanting to add in the fingers, or we can move into Discord and like chat. So what are you guys thinking? You guys want to practice the D major scale with straight bows? Okay, I'm seeing yes. Okay, yay, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm like looking for the nods and the affirmations. Okay, so let's do the D major scale. So we're gonna start on the D string, and I'm not sure where everyone is at, so I'll just tell you how to do the D major scale real quick. You'll do D open. Hopefully you all have finger tapes on your violin board. You'll put your first finger down for E. We just go up that music alphabet, and then we'll add a second finger down, F sharp, and then we'll do G, 3 fingers, and then you can do open, A string. This is a very, very fast run through, by the way, so I'm just hoping you guys all already know what to do. And then B, C sharp, D, and then let's just go backwards. Let's not repeat the top note. So let's try that out, and then it seems like you guys are all kind of moving your fingers. I'm pretty sure you guys know how. All right, are you ready? Let's hold every note for 2 beats. Okay, ready? D string. Check your straight bow. So we want to start straight. Hand is generally parallel. We have our V shape with our body, with our arm. 2 beats for every note. Ready, go. 1, 2, E. Backwards. Nice. Good job, you guys. Let's do that again. I know we're getting warmed up and there's a lot to think about. It's like, where do we put our fingers? But then also, what is our bow doing? So remember, this is about bowing straight, this class. So really think about what your bowing is doing and try to make sure it's straight from the bottom to the very top. Oh, wait, someone said something. I've noticed your 3rd finger does not solidly lock on touch the eye of the frog. The 3rd finger. You mean like, okay, let me read this. I have a teacher here in the local school of music as well. She's actually a cellist. Finger keeps lifting off and she says I have to keep it down. Puzzled. Okay, so 3rd finger. So this is the 1st finger index. I'll just show you guys what we want. And then, yeah, when I bow, we want to have a very relaxed hand hold, bow hold, very relaxed, super loose. So when we're doing like more of the advanced bow holds, when I'm bowing, my hand is so free and so relaxed. So yeah, definitely you might see my 1st finger lifting or my, something moving a little bit as I bow. I think you're talking about my bow hold, right? Yeah, you're talking about my bow hold because you're talking about the frog. Okay, just triple checking. Okay, so with my hand, yeah, my fingers do kind of lift up, and that's because I'm so relaxed. So, but you guys are learning, so definitely try to maintain this bow hold like this right here, where our index finger is around the bow stick, These two middle fingers are around the frog and down, and then pinky is on its tip. I think of it like there's like a little orange cutie in the hand. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, you know, those little tiny oranges? They're called cuties anyways. But yeah, when we grab something like that, we don't grab it like this, right? We're not grabbing it like a sandwich. We're grabbing it with our fingers rounded. So just when you have contact with the bow, keep all your fingers kind of curved in and your fingertips touching different points. This isn't really how I would explain like the bow hold. I mean, this is kind of like a rough, you know, run through, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding or answering your question, which is like, this is what we want our bow hold to do. This is what it should look like. And then, yeah, when I play, and I think when a lot of violinists play, you know, fingers are very relaxed and loose, and so sometimes fingers do come up. But this is what the bow hold is. What we want. And my joints are moving because everything's very free and can move like jellyfish in the water. We don't want anything like sandwich. We don't want tense fingers. You know, we don't want to be like this, like. If you see any straight fingers, that means there's tension. So I just say at the end of the day, make sure your hand is as relaxed as possible as you're learning the bow hold and as you're bowing. Just keep everything so relaxed, like jellyfish in the water. Okay, bent thumb helped me. Do you need help with your bent thumb? Hi, Kola. So I think do you want to be unmuted and like ask me a question? You're good? Okay, got it. Awesome. Okay, so that was a little tangent on bowing, but you know, everything is very interconnected with bowing and our bow hold and all of that good stuff. So let's go back to the D major scale. Let's do the D major scale 2 more times in a row, and then we can maybe head on over into Discord to keep chatting through more of these types of conversations. All right, are you guys ready? Let's do D major scale 2 more times in a row, no stops. Let's not repeat any notes. So with the high D on the A string 1 time, and then we'll come back down, D string open 1 time, going back up, back down. And you can just follow along. We're really focusing on our bowing. D string, ready, and set, go. 1, 2. Backwards. 4. Again to E. Backwards. 4. Yay! Great job, everyone. I was looking at the screens. I'm seeing some nice straight bowing. Proud of you all. Thanks for coming into this class and being intentional with your violin journey with your learning. This is amazing what Trala offers, all of these like free classes. Try to just do every single one of them, because every time they tell me the teacher that's going to be teaching, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I would sit in on that class if I had time. So they bring in some really cool people here. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. That made sense. Remember, you guys, think about bowing straight in 2 parts. What is your hand, the top of your hand doing? Keep it parallel, and then think about your arm. 3 different shapes: V shape, 90-degree or square, straight arm. And of course, a lot of other things that go into it later on down the line, but just keep it simple on yourself until you feel like you've really mastered just that general flow and bowing. And then, you know, use the mirror for sure. Like, use a mirror at home so you can watch yourself. What was I gonna say? Oh, you guys, and I was gonna post my info if you guys have any future question. Can I post my info in here?
Absolutely. Share in Discord too.
Yeah, share it in Discord. I'm also sharing our info that Amy so amazingly gave us here, all of her tips inside of Discord, so they will be here for posterity. And we're going to be moving over to Discord for the rest of the Q&A. So I shared the link again. I will share it. I will copy and paste it so it's right at the bottom. Please feel free to make the jump. We're so excited to see you there. And there's a lot more going on inside of Discord after we finish this Q&A. So hopefully you guys can make it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. I hope to see you guys in there. Let's keep chatting.
Okie doke. Bye, everyone.